You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
It finally feels like summer where I am today. I'm very pleased. I was on not vacation because I was working during it, but I was out of town, hanging out on a beach for a few days. Now I'm back home. It's like 90 plus degrees in Denver, Colorado. It feels like summer, which it should because summer is like half over. Even though it only started last week officially, it still feels like it's half gone.
Is this the first official podcast of the summer?
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah, I believe it is because Friday summer kicked off officially
on your birthday.
It was. I turned 24, and and now it's our first summer podcast. We've been a spring podcast for so long, and happens the same way every year. So I don't know why I'm explaining this as though it's something new. When the moon is in the 6th quarter quadrant. And summer comes along. Hey, whatever. It's summer. Short season leagues have started. We got Triple-A All-Star rosters coming out in a minute. Things are crazy. We'll welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Vaughn. His name is Sam Dykstra. What's going on out there, Sam? How are you?
I'm good.
Can we just explain something that happened to you last week?
Yes.
We have a buddy who you will hear from on this show very soon. His name is Josh Jackson. You've heard from him on this show before. He is the best of all of us. The other day, you were on the Brooklyn Bridge, correct?
I was in Brooklyn Bridge Park.
Okay. Yeah. And explain to the good folks what happened.
Yeah, I don't think you even know fully the backstory on this.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story on this.
So I went to, and I hope Josh is okay with telling part of this story anyway. I live in Brooklyn. I live down near Prospect Park, one of the city's great parks. And, I enjoy walking around there. I know it pretty well at this point. It's half a block away from me. But there's this one hill that I've never gone up before. And it's called Lookout Hill. There was actually a Revolutionary War battle fought there. And for obvious reasons, it's a tall hill. I think it might be the tallest in Brooklyn, or it's one of the two tallest anyway. So it looks over most of the borough. Decided to finally go up there. I posted a picture of it, whatever, on Instagram because I am a 29-year-old man. And Josh commented, because Josh used to live in Brooklyn himself, now lives in Venice, California, that he used to live around there and they used to go to that hill, and it had a special feeling to their family. So if I happen to see his wife in the area, just know she's around. She's visiting for work, whatever. She's arriving there tomorrow. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'll keep an eye out. You say that there's 8 million people in New York City. There's lots of people in Brooklyn. Never think about it, but I've never met Ella. That would be pretty funny. Smash cut to me deciding to go for a nice walk on a nice weekend day in Brooklyn Bridge Park. I'm walking again, 29-year-old man with my headphones in, not paying much attention to the world other than just it's nice to get out and get some exercise. And I look around me and I swear that was Josh's wife who just walked past me. There's no way. So I'm like, well, I can't just let this go past. I can't text Josh later. I might have seen her. So I go walking up to this random woman and I'm like, excuse me, are you Ella? And she's like, yes. I'm like, I'm Sam Dykstra. She's like, oh my God. We have to tell Josh. We have to tell Josh.
I'm Sam Dykstra of MILB.com and the Show Before the Show podcast.
No, I thought of if I have to, I'll say I'm Josh's coworker or something. But I had no idea what I was going to if I should just say Sam, and I said Sam Dykstra, and I'm like, that's a weird thing to say to somebody who you kind of know through the internet. And we immediately took a selfie in front of Brooklyn Bridge Park and stood there for 10, 15 minutes just waiting for it to send to Josh so we could each see his reaction. I mean, it was nice to meet her for the first time and get to know her outside of just commenting on pictures and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where and I told Josh this, like, the world really, really is a small place. It's crazy that she's visiting from LA for a weekend and we just happen to cross paths in the biggest city in the country. I mean, the odds on that are astronomical, but it's just crazy the fact that we recognize each other and whatever. So it was just a really, really fun couple minutes there. And shout out to the Jackson Tabasky family.
So crazy. You know what the funniest thing about it is too? I actually texted Josh like a week earlier. There was a picture that either he or Ella had posted on Instagram or Twitter or somewhere, and I said, you know what? I think that's like the first picture I've actually seen of Ella, because he said, you know, he'll take pictures of them and Ella will be like, nah, don't post that, or he won't want to post it, or whatever it is. And so I don't even know if he told me that. I don't even think I would recognize Ella had I seen her like in a park or something. And I've like we met in LA, you and me and Josh last year. Like I've been to LA. I've seen Josh out there a couple times, but I've never met Ella. It's just like you're just walking around. You're like, oh, I think that's my coworker's and friend's wife from 3,000 miles away, walking in the same park as me.
We're literally in a harbor that borders the Atlantic Ocean, and he lives very close to the Pacific Ocean. It's just absolutely nuts. Yeah. And I mean, it wouldn't have happened. I may have walked past her just thinking like, oh, that kind of looks like Josh's wife. But if I had not posted that picture the day before and he wouldn't have said hey, she's in town. Yeah, I definitely would not have said anything. I am not that type of person. That being said, I will translate this into something that we've said before. If you see us at a park or something, like, feel free to say hi.
Hello. Please do.
Only good things will come of that. If it's not us for some reason, I mean, somebody else told me this the other day that I look like 95% of dudes in Brooklyn. So there's a decent chance you might go to a Cyclones game and think it's me and it's not. Still, the payoff is much better.
Shot. Yeah, just walk around yelling, Sam Dykstra. And see who
people will point you in the right direction.
So with that, hello and welcome inside this week's episode. We are going to hear from Josh Jackson coming up here in just a little bit, and we are also going to hear from Brent Rooker of the Minnesota Twins organization. We'll talk about that coming up here momentarily. Brent will join us next segment. We'll talk with Josh after, and with that, let's kick it off. 3 strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show with some big news about baseball's now top prospect. Everybody in front of him has graduated, and he is a complete stud on the baseball field. So Wander Franco is the new top overall prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. He was promoted to that spot as of the most recent rankings. He was the preseason number 13, by the way, in MLB Pipeline's top 100 across baseball. But he is up at the Class A advanced level after tearing through full season Class A with a slash line for Class A Bowling Green of 318, 390, 506. He's 18 years old, and he's now at the Class A advanced level with the Charlotte Stone Crabs. I think at the beginning of the season, we kind of expected that Wander Franco was going to be the top overall prospect going into 2020 more than likely, but he, I think, has accelerated even that timetable.
Yeah, there are a couple of really interesting things that have happened to him this season so far. I mean, he is doing everything we kind of expected of him, which is nuts to say of somebody who turned 18 on March 1st. We all thought he would be really good at Class A with the chance to move up to Class A Advanced. So as cool as it is that he's moved up to the FSL this quickly, it's also kind of expected, which is too bad for him. This is a really celebratory moment in his career to move up like this. This is the first time he's ever received an in-season promotion. You know, he skipped straight to rookie advanced Princeton last year, didn't get any time at the complexes, whether it's the DSL or the GCL, went straight to the Appy League. Now did well enough at the Midwest League to move up to the Florida State League. What does that mean for him the rest of the season? We'll have to see, but I think they're pretty comfortable letting him finish out the year there. But interesting things that I want to point out real quick. At Princeton last year, he got 273 plate appearances. At Bowling Green this year, he got 272. So he basically has the exact same sample at rookie advance as he does at Class A. That in mind, his slash line was 318, 390, 506, which I consider a really good slash line to be 345. Going across the board, that's almost exactly where he was in terms of slash line. Again, doing this as an 18-year-old switch hitter and a shortstop is really, really good. But his WRC plus at Princeton, when we all really got caught on to him and thought, hey, this 17-year-old shortstop is pretty good with the bat, was 159. It was 154 in the Midwest League. So even though he jumped, again, skipped a level, skipped right over Class A short season, moved to full season ball, played in April where it's pretty cold across the Midwest League, and really heated up by the end. Still did about as well as he did in the Appy League last year when he was still considered pretty young. He's played 2 games for Charlotte so far. By the time you're hearing this, he's probably played a third. But he's still doing the same old things. He's going 5 for 7 in his first 2 games. He's got multiple hits in his first and second game with Charlotte. This guy makes a ton of contact. When he swings, he's swinging to make contact. This is not just somebody who's, the modern game, the way things are going, it's maxing out your swings and, trying to make the most power when you do. And he obviously can do that. He can hit for more pop than somebody you would expect coming out of a 5'10" frame.
Who's 18.
But he struck out in only 7.4% of his plate appearances in the Midwest League. He swung and missed 4.5% of the pitches he saw, which was third lowest among Midwest League qualifiers. So, some of one of the other 2 who were lower than him was Xavier Edwards, who has elite contact skills coming out of last year's draft. So he marries so many different offensive concepts, makes a ton of contact, makes good contact, he had 6 homers in 62 games. He's capable of driving it outside the park. He hits it to all fields really well. He's probably going to stick at shortstop. I mean, there might come the time when he'll have to move off it because of things outside of his control. Fielding is probably his worst tool, and that's saying something because it's average. His arm is above average. His run tool is on the plus side. He just marries so many different things. He walks more than he strikes out. We were talking about Vlad Jr. in terms of that was one of the coolest things he did is that he can hit for average, he can hit for power, he has incredible plate discipline. Franco's doing the exact same stuff. He has a few other tools that Vlad didn't. Now, his hit tool is not quite as good as Vlad's. That's why Vlad was the number 1 prospect coming into the year. And like Tyler said, Franco was number 13. Franco just didn't have a chance to prove himself. Now he's doing that at full season levels, obviously taking well to the Florida State League. Very small sample there so far, and that is a pitcher's league. So if his numbers are down a little bit by the end of the season, don't panic. And again, he'll be playing there at a time when he's basically a high school senior right now. He would be going to college next year if he was American, and he's already at high A, which is fascinating. So yeah, this is really, really exciting to see him get pushed like this. It might not be as exciting just because we know what he was coming into the year, and he's only affirmed all of our thoughts instead of really surprising us in that way. But it is important to keep in this context of where he would be compared to his peers and how far ahead he is compared to so many other teenagers.
It is pretty amazing stuff, and it's a really exciting time to be a Tampa Bay Rays fan. That Charlotte team is pretty loaded. I think not just at the top half of the lineup, which you kind of look at with Charlotte, but 1 through 9, and the pitching staff has some interesting guys. That team is sneaky good. And it's always when a Florida State League team has one of those rosters, it's a little different because they're not kind of the traditional minor league affiliates. But if you're around that area, or if you're a Rays fan and you can find your way to Charlotte or an FSL town that they're coming through, that is a really, really fun roster right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Brujan and Franco at the top of the lineup. Alone. Yeah, and as a double play partnership is going to be fascinating. I remember a friend went to I think it was a Charlotte game last year, and they texted me and said, like, who should I watch in this game? I'm like, well, Vidal Brujan is going to be one of the best players you're going to see. And I think he had a triple in that game, and they immediately texted me back saying, like, he breezed into third base. It was absolutely incredible. Putting those two at the top of the lineup, you could put one at the top and one at number 2. You could flip them. There's so many options there. And then Ronaldo Hernandez, who is having admittedly a little bit of a down year, but when he's at his best, provides thump in that 3-hole, is really, really cool. And to see the Rays system, which is obviously deep, but to have a lot of that talent concentrated on this one roster must be really cool. So if you're around that area, do go check out the Stone Crabs whenever you get the chance.
Strike two this week. The Baltimore Orioles selected Oregon State catcher Adley Rutschman with the top overall selection in the Major League Baseball first-year player draft a couple of weeks ago, and we now know what their plan is for him. He signed for a record $8.1 million bonus, according to MLB.com's Jim Callis, which beat out the $8 million that Garrett Cole got from the Pittsburgh Pirates back in 2011. This is a guy who the Orioles are probably as excited about as they have been with any prospect, especially on the position player side since, I don't know, Matt Wieters, Manny Machado. This is a guy who comes with a ton of promise, and the O's, according to their brass, will send him to the Gulf Coast League and to Class A short season Aberdeen this year. Mike Elias, the Orioles general manager, said that in an introductory press conference on Tuesday. Sam, your reaction to this, it's not wholly unsurprising. Is there a chance that if Adley Rutschman goes out there and just blows up through these first couple of levels, we could see him at Delmarva or at Frederick or somewhere else? Or do you think this is a plan to stick to for this first season and then move him along starting in 2020?
I think this is the plan, essentially. Just to get him in Aberdeen. I don't think that by the time he gets to Aberdeen, that there will be enough time for them to say, like, he's hitting 450 over 50 games. We really need to get him up. I think that they just want him kind of in a controlled environment. Don't want to push him too much so far or so quickly. I was kind of surprised that they said Aberdeen. It didn't sound like there was much wiggle room in there. I'm even surprised he's going to the GCL. I understand it. One thing Mike Elias said was, we want to give him time to get back into the swing of things. We want him to go off and get whatever awards he's going to go to and go enjoy that part of the college experience still. Take up as much of the limelight that he has so rightfully earned, obviously, and then go to Sarasota, get in some reps, just get back into the swing of things of baseball, and then get the experience of playing in a stadium. One great thing about that Orioles system, I don't know if we've said this before, I think we have in some interviews with Baltimore prospects, is the Orioles system is basically centered around Baltimore. Aberdeen is right there. Delmarva's right there. Frederick's right there. Bowie's right there. Norfolk's right there. You're going to get a taste of what it's like to be in Orioles country very quickly. So the idea of having to move him around that much, I don't think that's going to really make a difference. The difference between Aberdeen and Delmarva might just be slight enough that it might not make that much of a difference. They'd much rather have him just get some repetition at one place and not harry him too much this quickly. One thing I will say, though, that I thought was really interesting was Elias said he's not going to be an everyday catcher this summer, which, catching is a demanding position, and Rutschman obviously got a full spring as a catcher for Oregon State. But it sounds like he's going to do maybe half and half. He's going to half DH and half catch. One of the reasons for that is the Orioles are so high on him as a catcher that they don't think he needs a development time there, except for maybe getting to work with different pitchers. But they much rather see him get at bats against tougher pitching than he saw in college than necessarily trying to work on his game behind the plate. Catching is a taxing position. It's really tough. You don't want somebody catching more games than they necessarily need to. Rest those legs. Let him work on his at-bats, let him focus on that. But that's something we're going to have to keep a close eye on once he does debut in the GCL and probably pretty swiftly moves up to the New York Penn League.
So get pumped, O's fans, as Adley Rutschman is on the way here in his debut professional season. And strike three this week. Triple-A All-Star Game rosters have arrived for the Pacific Coast League and the International League. The two circuits will square off in El Paso at Southwest University Park on July 10th. And some really interesting names on either side. On the Pacific Coast League side, some position players that nobody wants to face. Keston Hiura, the Milwaukee Brewers organization, Luis Arias of the San Diego Padres, Kyle Tucker of the Houston Astros. Those are just three of the biggest names. They're ranked prospects and top talents all over that PCL roster. The International League side, not a whole lot different. Mitch Keller leads the way there. The Pittsburgh Pirates right-handed pitching prospect who's made his major league debut this season. Baltimore Orioles infielder Ryan Mountcastle is one of them as well. What are the biggest things you take away from these rosters this year, Sam?
Yeah,
you mentioned all the really big names, and some of the other ones that got added there. Will Smith for the PCL coming back from the Los Angeles Dodgers just in time to be added to this roster, and almost who's not there. Yordan Alvarez and Zach Gallen for the PCL don't get named to the initial roster because they're in the major leagues. If you listen to our Triple-A show, you know that I'm kind of a big proponent of letting guys be named to the roster and then taking them off afterwards if the opportunity presents itself or needs to happen. That didn't happen here. That's the league's call. That's the way things work. But I kind of wish Zach Gallen, who was easily the most dominant pitcher in Triple-A at the beginning of the year, I would have liked to see his name on here. And Yordan Alvarez, one of the most dominant hitters in Triple-A, if not the most, right up there with Kevin Crone, who does get named because he came back from the D-backs just in time to make the roster. That's interesting to me. But I want to give a quick shout-out in the PCL as well to outfielder Bubba Starling. Bubba Starling, whose story has been around as long as I've been in the minor leagues, which is quite a while now. But first-round pick in 2011. I think he got DFA'd this offseason. The Royals let him go. He ends up signing back in December, so it was very quick. It's the only organization he's ever known. The Royals have been high on him for a long time, not necessarily in terms of prospect status anymore, but he's always been a really, really good outfielder and good amount of speed. Just hasn't translated with the bat to the point where, Tyler, you know this well, a lot of people think he probably should have been a quarterback. He was going to Nebraska, right?
He was.
Yes.
One of the several commits throughout the minor leagues who were once Nebraska quarterback. Monte Harrison is the other one who really stands out in the Marlins organization now.
Right. So Bubba Starling gets named to the PCL All-Star team. And according to our records, maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe something got lapsed, but this is the first time anywhere he's been named a midseason All-Star. Which is absolutely incredible. Good for him for sticking out this long. He's still only 26. For somebody we've been talking about feels like he's been around forever. There are major league rookies this year who are older than he is. But he's hitting .313 with a .797 OPS. Again, providing good offense and speed. He's got 9 stolen bases in 62 games. Good for him for getting this recognition and getting this honor. The Royals aren't going anywhere fast. I would love to see him get a major league chance at some point. But him getting the chance to go to El Paso for this game is pretty cool. Again, Luis Urias, you mentioned Kyle Tucker getting the nod as the starting outfielder, kind of nipping it there at the end. He had a really, really rough start this year to Round Rock, but has picked things up. I think he's the only he's picking up home runs and stolen bases at a really good rate, doing what we always thought he could in both of those aspects. And that's what keeps him a number 10 overall prospect. This year, he's got 23 homers and 18 stolen bases. He's the only PCL player with at least that amount in both categories. So pretty cool to see him turn things on. I would love to see him get a chance in Houston at some point. I know Alvarez kind of beat him to the punch there, but Tucker either has to be trade bait at this point or a part of Houston's plans because he doesn't have much left to prove at Triple-A, but he'll get that chance here in the Triple-A All-Star Game July 10th in El Paso.
And that's going to wrap up Three Strikes for this week's episode of the show before the show. But we're going to continue on the all-star note. The Rochester Red Wings, the home of outfielder / first baseman Brent Rooker in the Minnesota Twins organization. And Brent joins the show coming up next. To an International League All-Star we head for segment number 2 this week on the show before the show, and that is where we find Minnesota Twins prospect Brent Rooker, the 7th-ranked prospect in that organization who joins us from Triple-A Rochester, where I guess you can't really say off to a fantastic start. It's just a fantastic season at this point as we're at the midway point in the Triple-A year. But through 50 games with Rochester so far this season. Brent, welcome to the show, man. What's going on? How are you? Congrats on the All-Star news.
I'm doing well. Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks for joining us. So tell us about this season for you, going to Rochester and being part of a system now and an organization that is running away, it feels like, in the American League Central, and with so much talent on the way with this Twins organization. What has this season been like for you? It's obviously been a great year for you, but being part of this organization this year, what has that felt like?
It's been really cool. Obviously, it's exciting times, all up and down our organization. We've got kind of talent everywhere. Obviously, the big league team is having a phenomenal year, and then you look around kind of our Triple-A, Double-A, and even Single-A rosters, and there's even more talent, on the way in our minor league system, guys who keep developing, guys who just kind of keep getting better every year. So it's a really fun time to be a part of this organization.
When you guys got into this season, could you tell at spring training, you're down in Fort Myers, you're getting set for the year, could you tell that this year felt like it was going to be different? I mean, the Twins for the last few years, we know the talent that's been coming along, but for all of this to explode it seems like every level in the system, and of course at the major league level, what did it feel like coming into 2019? Could you tell that this type of stuff was in the offing throughout the organization?
Yeah, definitely. Even in just my few short weeks in big league camp during spring training, you could kind of tell that the vibe around those guys was really good. The talent was there. And I know you don't put too much stock in, spring training games and things like that. But, I mean, we won a lot of games during spring training. Players that we have, obviously, on the big league roster, and then the guys that fill in from Triple-A and Double-A and things like that all played really well, when they got their opportunities. So, spring training kind of set the tone for us as a whole as an organization. It was just kind of the way the year was going to go. And it was a really fun experience to be a part of. And, we look forward to kind of keep building on it going forward.
All right. Well, I kind of want to snap back to today here. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is not only are you an IL All-Star now, but your June has been fascinating to watch from afar. One of the things that stood out to me is just your splits. I know in May you were coming off a wrist injury and you had some IL time there, but here in June you have walked 26 times in 26 games. You've got a OBP of 522, so you're reaching in more than half of your plate appearances, and you're mixing that in with some good other numbers. You got 6 homers in 26 games. But how do you kind of explain this last stretch? What has kind of happened, and what have you done to adjust to the Triple-A level to take off in the way you have?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was just kind of getting healthy. Obviously, I had the wrist thing at the end of May that put me on the IL, for about 2 weeks. And even before that, I had some nagging stuff going on that I never really felt, fully healthy, fully comfortable, even when I was playing. So those the 2 weeks on the IL with the wrist thing kind of gave me time to, I think, reset, get my body fully healthy, and ready to go. And then during that time, we just kind of looked at some things that, I was struggling with early in the year and kind of addressed some issues and made some adjustments, both, approach wise and swing wise as well. And, those things we worked on, during the 2 weeks I was out, which honestly was a lot of mental stuff, a lot of approach stuff, and seemed to pay a lot of dividends in June, like you talked about. So I'm just kind of looking to keep building on those adjustments and, keep improving moving forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned swing adjustments. You're somebody whose bat has always carried him, through your time at Mississippi State and into the draft and here now in the pros. What did you see in your swing that needed adjusting and has allowed you to unlock these last couple weeks?
Honestly, obviously I was hurt, so I couldn't do a lot of actual swinging. So we kind of just looked a lot of, at which pitches I was swinging at, where the balls I was hitting, my batted ball profile, where they were going. And we kind of looked at that and made some, just kind of took that information, and kind of were able to come up with a solution, what we think would solve a lot of what was going on, a lot of the things I was struggling with. So it wasn't as much physical swing things as it was approach things, as it was things, what I was trying to do at the plate, where my energy was going, where I was looking to drive the ball, and we kind of addressed some of that mentally, like I talked about, and from an approach standpoint. And I think those have been the things that have kind of, helped me out the most.
Yeah, and when you talk about mental approach too, give me an example of something like that. Is there a certain pitch you are looking at now and thinking like, okay, I should be driving that the other way, or I should be spitting on it and not even trying to swing at it? How has your thought process changed at the plate now from where it is now than where it was in opening day back in April?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I'm just trying to look to do more damage towards the middle of the field and kind of avoid being so pull heavy. You kind of look at some of the charts and some of the graphs of the best hitters in the big leagues, and a lot of it, the middle pitches right down the middle, they do a lot of damage to center field. They're not necessarily pulling those pitches. which was kind of eye-opening for me and something that I've been trying to work on. Is kind of let the pull side power come naturally and not really try to force that, but try to just kind of stay through the middle more and, still looking to drive balls, hit doubles, hit home runs, but kind of focusing my energy and when I'm looking to do that more towards the middle of the field rather than being so pull heavy.
And one of the things we wanted to bring up with you as well is not just your offense, but your defense. This year, the Red Wings and the Twins, by extension, have moved you exclusively to left field. In times past, you switched off between left field and first base. It seems like they're not letting you play first base right now. Is that still something they're having you work on, or is that something you've abandoned completely? And what does that do to change your game or thought process or day to day when you are just focusing on one position?
No, I don't think I've completely abandoned that. I think that's still there. I still have the ability to do that if we need me to, or if that helps my career going forward. But right now, my focus has been in the outfield, and I think just kind of staying in one position, being able to put all my energy, all my effort into that one position has really helped me improve out there. I'm feeling more comfortable doing a lot of early work, with coordinators and stuff, trying to get as good as I can in left field, and I think it's helped a ton.
Brent, when you look back on the last few years, going to the Twins in 2016 first in the 38th round, and then in 2017 you jump up to the competitive balance round. For an organization to have kind of centered in on you and obviously have really liked your game and followed along with you, and to jump up 35 rounds basically, and to still have that organization be the one that wants to lock you in, what did that mean in terms of your relationship with the Twins and how that evolved early on, kind of having a little bit of a tie to them, and then knowing a year later, all right, this is a team that still really, really wants me?
Yeah, that was really cool. It was nice because there's definitely a comfort level there. Already having developed relationships with a lot of the guys involved in the draft process from the year before, having had conversations and having talks with them prior made the transition really easy and obviously put me at ease. And I was very comfortable with the organization as a whole. And I've had nothing but fantastic experiences in my 2 years here. So, I'm obviously super grateful that the Twins were still there to get me the second year, because it's been a great relationship so far.
This season being, moving around like you talked about defensively and all that, one of the things that I noticed from an offensive standpoint throughout your splits is early on in counts, you've done really, really good work. First pitch of at-bats, you're batting .556 with a 1475 OPS. Second pitch on an 0-1 count, 429, 1143 the OPS, and 1-0, 400, 1300. Take me through the approach that you have as a hitter, knowing that early on in counts, if you get something, you're going to go for it. We're in such an era now where I think guys are one of two ways. You're either a little bit overwhelmed by thinking about the data and all the things, the various scenarios that can go on throughout an at-bat, or you kind of have your plan and you know what you're looking for. When you're early on in an at-bat, what's your mindset like?
Yeah, I've always been an aggressive hitter. Even growing up through high school and college, I was always aggressive. So I get in the box looking to swing. If the first pitch is the pitch I think I can handle and do something with, and I'm going to be aggressive to that pitch. And that really hasn't changed at all. Obviously, there's a very fine line between being aggressive and swinging too much. But for me, if a pitch shows up in the zone and it's a spot that I think I can drive the ball in, then I'm not going to be afraid to swing the first couple pitches of an at bat.
All right, Brent, we know you're at Triple-A now, and again, this first half has gone so well for you. Triple-A is not a level you had experienced before this season, but one of the big stories in Triple-A this year is going to the Major League Ball. It's helped offense across the board. What is it like playing with that ball as a hitter, as a fielder, as somebody getting used to this situation? It's the ball you're going to be using at the next level, so there's some help there. But what has it been like to kind of be in Triple-A this year specifically with all that's going on there?
Yeah, obviously the league has been, and AAA as a whole, has been a lot more offensive than it has been in the past. I think that there are benefits to using the ball, and then obviously it definitely changes the game a little bit. The power game obviously increases, but then you have outfielders playing deeper because the ball goes further, so there's obviously more singles to be had in front of outfielders. So it's changed a lot, but my opinion should be that, professional baseball should universally use the same ball. So I think if we're going to go to it in AAA, we should probably go to it in the lower levels as well.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point about the singles. I hadn't really considered that.
Yeah.
And as an infielder or as an outfielder, that's something you would be keenly aware of.
Right.
But now that you are at this level, one of the reasons they brought the ball to it is it's one step away, and they want pitchers getting used to it and all that kind of stuff. But being one stop away, what was your welcome to Triple-A moment? What was the moment where you felt like, oh, this really is this close to the major leagues?
That's a good question. You kind of get here, and within the first 2 weeks, you realize how many moves are made back and forth. Specifically with bullpen arms and with pitchers. That's something you don't see at the lower levels, even at Double-A. You don't really see the shuffling back and forth. The taking advantage of guys who have options and kind of keeping your bullpen fresh. With that ability and the roster depth. So once you're here and the first couple moves get made within the first 2 or 3 weeks of being here, you kind of realize that there's a ton of depth in the 40-man roster, and the guys are honestly just one call away. That's what it kind of sinks in.
Brent, the 2019 season, being named an All-Star at the International League side, you're going to a place where hopefully, by all of our projections, it'll end like 31-28 when you go to El Paso, because that's how it goes down there. But to be an All-Star and get that recognition, what does that mean to you this year with the way, especially through April and May with the injury and all that stuff, and now the way you've taken off in June to get this recognition? When you got that news, what was your reaction?
I was super excited, obviously. To be a part of that game, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a huge honor. I think it was kind of reassuring for me to know that the work I've been putting in and the adjustments I've made are paying off. Obviously, with how the year started slow, and then I was able to come on a little bit later. So that was the biggest thing for me. It was just kind of like a reassurance, like I'm on the right path. My process is working to just kind of continue what I'm doing right now and continue looking to get better, and good things will come.
Yeah, and as somebody like Tyler said, getting to play in El Paso, that's not a park you get to play in. Is that something you're looking forward to? Is that something you've even thought about doing? Like the chance to hit it into that, I don't think it's thin air, but just hit in that park for the first time?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Being in the International League, you obviously hear the PCL stories about how the ball flies and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting that experience a little bit, and it's always fun to play a new ballpark, so it'll be a great time. All
right, Brent, we've got 2 last ones to end on. As somebody, as we all kind of jointly run the MILB Twitter account, we get to keep an eye on things and see what people are putting out there. And you have one of our favorite Twitter accounts, I got to say, in terms of being opinionated and sharing it.
That, yeah.
Yeah. In all the right ways, like in all the very fun ways. You use the platform in a great way. For anybody who's following at home, Brent's Twitter handle is Brent_Rooker19. But one of the things that caught my eye is the other day, Netflix announced that The Office is not coming back after 2021 or something like that. So I wanted to ask you, for people who don't know you on a personal level, what Office character would you say you most resemble?
Physically? Or like personality-wise?
We'll say personality-wise. I think people can look at a picture of you and try to determine on their own. But personality-wise, who are you?
That's a really good question. It's kind of tough. I'll give you my favorite character in the entire show, and the guy that I would most strive to be like personality-wise is Robert California. His sense of humor kills me. I think he's got the really like dry, witty, kind of intellectual sense of humor that I don't know if I have it, but that's what I strive to have. So I'll go with that just to kind of make myself feel good.
I was going to say, yeah.
Prove me right. Losers, prove me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's very underrated as a character.
That's a good answer.
I don't think people appreciate him enough.
All right, fair enough. So we'll end on this one then, because you also during the time it was on the air, were a prolific Game of Thrones tweeter. At one point, you called out Cole Stewart for live tweeting like season 2 or something like that. When everybody else, which was fantastic. 2 completely different shows. But if you were to get the chance to live in the world of Game of Thrones or the world of The Office, knowing that you would have a sense of humor, it would be basically a comedy at all times, which would you rather live in?
Oh, I'll go to Westeros for sure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go to Westeros. We'll get to experience that. I mean, we play in the IL North. I've been to Scranton like 3 times now, so It's not too far off from what we experience regularly. But yeah, I think I'll take the experience, go to Westeros, and kind of see that whole deal.
I will say Brent is a much better athlete than the rest of us, so your chances of survival would probably be better than the rest of us.
That's a good point. I feel like a minor league clubhouse has probably got a ton of similarities to a Dunder Mifflin atmosphere anyway.
Yeah, it's shockingly similar. There's a lot of the same things going on, a lot of pranks and things like that. So it's not too far off of what we actually live.
Well, as Sam noted, Brent Rooker is on Twitter at Brent_Rooker19, and the Mississippi State product and International League All-Star is off to El Paso for the 2019 Triple-A All-Star Game. And Brent, congratulations on all the success, man, and keep rolling. Best of luck. Make sure before I saw you tweeted Netflix is not going to lose The Office until 2021, and you said you can quote every episode line for line by now. Make sure that's all nailed down over the next year and a half, because eventually you're going to be on some road trip and somebody's going to be like, I want to watch the one with the Michael falling in the koi pond and I can't, and now I need Brent to recite it for us.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
Thanks, Brent. Good luck, man. Thanks. We appreciate the time.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ordinarily, in segment number 3 of our weekly little minor league baseball podcast, we talk with Benjamin Hill about what's going on around the business side of the game. But this week, we have a passionate guest and a friend to you and me, Josh Jackson, who we discussed earlier on in this show as the unwitting 3,000-mile-away bystander as Sam and his wife happen to run into each other in a park in New York City, which is weird enough. But we're going to go even weirder here, which is we're going to go into an in-depth breakdown of a controversy over a dessert snack cake and teams that are each claiming it, and you two New Englanders take this thing away. What's going on with this Whoopie Pies movement, Josh? Hello.
Hello. Well, what's going on? So there's kind of a long history of controversy about Whoopie Pie origins.
Josh sent us an email that was more like a treatise. It was like he had filed his graduate thesis on this, in which he cites a New York Times piece from 2011 and then press releases, and then talks about the origins in Pennsylvania's German community with the Whoopie Pie. There's so much in this. I had no idea.
Yeah. So there are other states even beyond Pennsylvania and Maine who claim the Whoopie Pie came from there. But before we get into
who don't know, what is a Whoopie Pie exactly?
Let's back it up a little bit. So a Whoopie Pie, my friend, is a tasty treat made of chocolate. So some people say cookies. It's more like a cake. It's not a pie. It's not a cookie. It's like two pieces of like moist chocolatey cake that are cookie shaped, and between them you've got like a thick layer of a cream frosting.
It's essentially a bigger Oreo, softer Oreo,
but less cookie and more cakey.
Right.
Well, no, for sure, but that's what I'm saying. That's the softer. It's like a bigger, softer.
The visual of an Oreo.
So far, both moist
but
and thick
rounded
were used in the
top
description of this, and so we're really things are. Continue, please.
I'll watch myself. So what does this have to do with minor league baseball is probably the next logical question. What does a Whoopie Pie have to do with minor league baseball? So we started by mentioning that some states, some people from some states feel really passionately that the Whoopie Pie belongs to them. Now, let's go back to 2017, the golden days of your youth, Tyler.
Man, I wish.
And that February, the Reading Fightin' Phils announced that they would rebrand as the Reading Whoopies.
Just for select games, continuing the food trend.
Right. So I should have specified temporary rebrand. This is not an entire overhaul. I think I'll just speak for myself. For myself, who grew up in Maine and grew up sort of with the understanding that a whoopie pie was a Maine thing. That was kind of weird. It was kind of weird that, if I were to guess, if any minor league team were to become the Whoopie Pies or the Whoopies, I would say it would be the Portland Sea Dogs. Well, my friends, this week, actually last Saturday, the Portland Sea Dogs did become, in fact, the Maine Whoopie Pies. And so I wrote a story about this, which is why I'm here on this podcast talking about it. Probably you can probably people will be able to find like a link to that in the story of this podcast page, maybe.
It'll be it's still on the website. Just search Maine Whoopie Pies and people will find the.
If you search Josh Jackson Whoopie Pies, it's thankfully the only thing that comes up.
Yeah, it's one of the top five.
Of the top. Yeah,
I would say
it's
the top thing out of 80,600 results, and I don't want to know why exactly, but yeah.
Right. Well, I could tell you why, but that's a whole other segment. So in talking to the Sea Dogs about this, assistant GM Dennis Meehan told me that when Reading rebranded like that, he was pushing. I'll read you his quote. I was pushing that we shouldn't let them do that. I was saying we should have this and show Pennsylvania who the real Whoopie Pies are. So he was kind of cheesed off too, and thought that that his team, the Sea Dogs, should come out and say, wait a minute. The Reading Whoopies, Whoopie Pies are from Maine. So in the long email that Tyler had alluded to, I was kind of pointing out that there's some legitimacy, I think, to any kind of claims about origins of what has become a folk treat in various places. And what's really interesting to me is that, you grow up thinking about it as your thing, and when somebody else says, "Hey, this belongs to us," there's a strong gut reaction where you're like, "Wait, no way, buddy!" Even if even if they have plenty of logical reason to feel the same exact way that you do.
That's how you all say it.
That was awful. That was just awful.
Not gonna happen.
No. Stop it. Josh, continue. But Tyler, stop it. Maine, the Portland Whoopie Pies did get into the act this year, and Reading has kind of moved on to become I believe the Reading Pretzel this year. That's sort of their alt food thing that they're pushing this year. So they had kind of, not been interested in playing up a battle of the Whoopie Pie and Whoopie Pie supremacy. But nonetheless, the Sea Dogs still felt, and obviously rightly so, based on the attendance and the excitement they got around this rebrand, that people are passionate enough about Whoopie Pies in Maine that it doesn't really matter if they're holding this as a Maine versus Pennsylvania kind of thing. And I think that's a good reason. I had mentioned, that it's something you grow up in Maine sort of understanding, this is one of our special treats. This is a special dessert we have here. And when people come here, they learn about this and they think, oh, there's a Maine thing. Now, what might sorry, Tyler, if you were to associate a food with Maine, you a Coloradoian, what might you guess? A minor league baseball team in Maine might rebrand as.
I mean, I will admit something lobster related.
Right, you would right. I think most people would go to the lobster first.
Can I give my answer?
Connecticut. Yeah, go for it, Sam.
See, mine would. So I don't know if you ever
Sam
went
is
to
in-
this, Josh. Yeah, as the
Massachusetts,
right.
we should say.
Yeah.
Another New Englander.
Yeah, as you can tell by my accent, which is flawless and not at all what Tyler does. So we used to go to Massachusetts doesn't have a state fair, but we have the Big E, which is kind of like all 6 states of New England all contribute to the Big E, and it was about half an hour from my house. So there were each of these houses. They were all called the state houses, and they were all in one row. And Maine used to have the longest line for its food, not for lobster, but for the baked potato. The Maine baked potato is the stuff of legend, and that's what I thought they were going to go with.
What
or
makes
as
that
you
so
mentioned,
good?
I think just Maine is really good at producing potatoes. I don't know if it's the Irish population or just the climate or what.
Oh God, I can't wait for the Boise Hawks to file their grievance.
I know,
now.
yeah. But I'm not saying they invented the baked potato, but Maine is really known for making a great baked potato. So that's where I thought I was going to go with. But Josh,
Both of those are famous Maine foods, and Maine produces an awful lot of them. The other sort of big thing is blueberries. Maine grows a lot of blueberries.
Yeah, I have heard
you've
that.
got your lobster, and yeah, Sam, it's true that not a lot of people outside of New England know about it because I'm going back to like what you learned in 4th grade here. So maybe a little cobwebs there, but I believe, Idaho like vastly outproduces everybody with potatoes, and then second, quite further, a distant second is Maine, and that's really in Aroostook County, which we call in Maine, we call it the county. It's the huge swath of the northern part of the state, and yeah, it's just the land there is kind of perfect for growing potatoes. So this is a quote that's not in the story, but in talking with Dennis Meehan about why Whoopie Pies was the natural rebrand beyond the sort of after the kind of Reading rivalry question went away, he pointed out that Portland is the only minor league baseball team in Maine, and so it naturally represents the big state, the state, and it's not a big state compared to the way states are laid out on the West Coast, but you could fit every other New England state inside of it. You can leave in your car from Portland and drive north, and have your sibling drive south, leaving from the same place, and your sibling will hit New York City before you'll hit the Canadian border. So it's a big state with like a lot of different regions within it. And the Whoopie Pie, they felt like, was really the thing that that united the state. He said, referring to potatoes, that's really northern Maine. We embrace it all over, but it's not like you can see potatoes growing in South Portland, which is, that's true. He also said with blueberries, you see small patches growing here and there. But if you're not in Machias, which is like the down east region and a huge blueberry growing region, basically you're not really, blueberry growing culture is not huge elsewhere. And he said if we rebranded as the Portland Headlights, which is a famous lighthouse, well, there's only one Portland Headlight. And so Whoopie Pies was the thing that sort of, as an entire state, no matter where you go, that's kind of a part of your food experience, and probably somebody in your family makes one and makes them, and it's like known within the family for making them best. And if not your family, then your next door neighbor. So it is kind of when he told me that, it did ring a bell for me, and kind of it made me say like, oh yeah, Whoopie Pie maybe is the quintessential Maine food, because obviously it's not the thing they're most famous for. I think lobster on a national level and probably international level is the thing that people think of when they think of Maine. But in Maine, no matter where you go, people love their Whoopie Pie.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I just find fascinating about this too, and we'll kind of end on this note, is the idea, you brought this up before, Reading is going to lay claim to it. Or laid claim to it initially, and that upset the Portland folks. And I'm sure there are other folks across the country who are like, hey, we also have our version of whoopie pie. It's one of those snacks that just many people could have come up with this idea. It's not groundbreaking that you decided to take 2 chocolate cakes and fill it with cream in the middle. But the fact that it elicits such strong opinions in the state of Maine, and that they're willing to defend it this way. And
can't wait for the hate mail to arrive on that one.
I know, right?
It's not a real novel idea. Dear Mr. Dykstra.
Sure. Hey, listen, I'd say the Oreo.
Have you invented?
Yeah. I say the Oreo, but the Oreo wasn't even like the first Oreo. Like there was something before the Oreo that was similar to that. So I don't know. It's great, and I'm glad it can pull in a region, and obviously did really well. And I hope there's many whoopie pie days to come. It's just the fact that a dessert like this can elicit such strong opinions is hilarious to me.
Me too. Yeah, I think it's something. Both minor league baseball teams and regional foods are something that makes people feel a strong sense of community. And so when teams do this food rebrand craze, when they partake in that, I think it's really tapping into something kind of special and really fun. If you're getting like really upset about it, if it's raising your blood pressure to know that Reading was the first team to play as the Whoopies, maybe you should look into what else is going on in your life and deal with some issues. But it's a really fun thing, I think, to get playful and proud about.
It is pretty good stuff. Josh's story is up on the site right now at MILB.com from June 25th. You can go read about that one with the Portland version of the whoopie pies, and we'll see what future food conflicts sprout their heads throughout the minor leagues. And now I guess we've already laid the groundwork for one with some Idaho Falls or Boise or somebody going against whichever squad out of New England decides to claim baked potatoes from Maine. I guess that's the next one. Let's just drum up fights.
Doesn't Syracuse already have a potato identity too?
Oh, they did. Yeah, that's right. That is right.
Can I throw
Potato
in one
tournament,
more thing?
it's coming near you.
Can I throw in one more thing that I thought was kind of funny? So since you've already mentioned my wife being in New York, so the day that this story ran, I just we were both going about our business, and she's there on business and stuff, so we weren't talking a ton. But in the middle of my workday, I got a text from her referring to the whoopie pie eating contest that the Sea Dogs did during the game. So she had, found the story and read it and texted me, 12 mini whoopie pies in 5 minutes. I could do that easy.
You can find our Josh Jackson on Twitter at JoshJacksonMILB. And again, you can find a story up on the site right now. And thanks, buddy. We need more of this type of conflict-related content. So we'll be sure to tap you for more of these as the season goes along.
Okay, well, you know where to find me.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
Big thanks to Brent Rooker and Josh Jackson for joining the show this week. MILB TV, your place to catch all the best and brightest of minor league baseball. Short season leagues underway right now. Sam, what are you watching this weekend?
Yeah, so anybody who listened last week and heard me suggest watching Davy Garcia, you're welcome. The guy helped pitch a no-hitter for Trenton on Monday, which is really neat to see. And I'll throw that out there. Keep trying to watch Davy Garcia as much as you can. He's been really exciting to watch. But the ones I'm going to specifically recommend, Gavin Lux at the Texas League All-Star Game this week. In a really cool moment, Tulsa Drillers shared it. Found out that he was moving up to Triple-A Oklahoma City. His manager told him, hey, I have to take you out of the game. Why? You're going to Triple-A. So he will be debuting with the Triple-A Oklahoma City Dodgers this week. By the time you hear this, the team will have one more game at home against New Orleans on Friday, and then they move to Nashville. Watch any of those games. We mentioned before Will Smith is back with the OKC Dodgers after a spell in the major leagues. Gavin Lux now joins that roster. He was top 5 in all 3 slash line categories in the Texas League. This was a promotion that was wholly deserved. Now he takes that really special bat one step closer to the majors, one step away from the majors. Going to be really excited to see what he can do now that he's challenged against better pitching, but also, in the PCL, playing with that Triple-A ball. What numbers can he put up? That starts this weekend. So make sure you're watching the OKC Dodgers whenever you get the chance. Tyler, what do you got your eye on?
This one's kind of a low-hanging fruit pick, but Bo Bichette, since returning for the Buffalo Bisons in the Triple-A International League, has been ridiculous. We're recording this on Thursday the 27th. He's got multiple hits in 5 out of his last 6 games. Had a 4-hit day for the first time at Triple-A on June 23rd. Over that span, over those 6 games, he's boosted his slash line from 227, 289, 387 to 306, 367, 500. Missed a lot of time, obviously, with the hand injury, but since he has returned, he's been fantastic for Buffalo, and the Bisons are at home this weekend hosting the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, who, depending on who you listen to, you can blame or credit with starting the food craze across minor league baseball. And that'll do it for this week's episode of The Show Before the Show. Big thanks to Brent and to Josh, and for Sam Dykstra, I'm Tyler Maun. We'll talk to you next week.